August is the worst month for beekeeping. Today we're going to go over the top 3 things to watch and then my top 3 tips. Let's get into it. Stay tuned until the end for my final bonus tip. Number 1 is the dearth. We've talked about dearths before. What does it mean? A dearth essentially means that there's no nectar flow. And maybe the bees always have some sort of nectar flow going, not necessarily, but not enough to really keep them fed. And that leads to a few things. A dearth leads to irritability, and so the bees are going to get a little bit spicy, a little bit picante, and they might bump you a little bit more than you're used to, which makes sense. How do you act when you're hungry? You know, when you don't have enough food, you're going to get a little bit cranky. So the bees are the same way. That frame looks really nice, full of nectar. If you can get that right angle, you can see the sun glistening off of it. Really nice frame. They're hungry, and the hive's probably a little more crowded because of that, and there's not as many foragers going out. And dearth also means that they may start eating their winter stores. In other words, they may start eating from the supers that you've been collecting and planning on harvesting. You really don't want them eating those stores. I suppose that's what they're there for, but at some point you're going to want to take that honey off so you can harvest it. And if they're in a dearth and you're not able to feed them, then what's going to happen? They're going to eat those winter stores, and you're not going to have as much honey production, which may be okay. If you're just in this for the honey production, then you might be unhappy because some years you're not going to get as much honey as others. And then the third thing that I would just be aware of regarding the dearth is if the nectar's not coming in or pollen's not coming in, the brood production is going to decrease. And right now they are making bees that are going to survive the winter. And they need that brood production going, so they need that food. It's always a tricky balance for me because I don't want to pull the boxes to harvest the honey too early, but so watch this, lift and twist so those frames get unstuck. I don't want to pull the supers to harvest the honey too early and miss a potential fall flow. However, I need to be feeding them if they're in a dearth, so it's always a bit of a tricky balance. Second thing to watch for is skyrocketing mite levels. For some reason, people that are more scientific than I can tell you why this happens, but mite levels seem to pop in August. And we know what skyrocketing mite levels do. With mites comes viruses. Maybe what happens is, as the places that actually have nectar are available, like in Utah here in our neighborhood, it's the Russian sage. Right now the bees are going to hitting the Russian sage hard, and so they're probably going to all these same places. A lot of space on this frame, look at that. Capped honey on the edges, but really no nectar in those cells. Two weeks ago, I think there was nectar in those cells, so probably what's happening, what I'm explaining just happened in a dearth, is happening here, is that those bees are eating that honey and that nectar. Because you're in a dearth, the bees are all congregating in one place, and an unhealthy beehive that has viruses and has mites probably contaminate the other hives, and so you're getting mite levels that skyrocket because of that contamination from other hives. There's one big thing that mites lead to, and that's weak bees. And as we prepare for winter right now, which is crucial, you need to have winter, or you need to have healthy bees going into winter. Treating can be tricky right now because the different methods that you have for treating, like Apivar, some of them can't be done in super hot weather like we have. Like today's a high of 92, and I can't be using like Formic Pro in that type of weather. So what I choose to use is oxalic acid sponges. The third item to watch for is overcrowding. I mentioned this a little bit before, but if you're in a dearth, there's not as many foragers going out. So what are they doing? They're hanging out in a hive. And what do the bees have to do? They have to control the temperature of the hive and protect the brood by maintaining that correct temperature. So if we're not careful and there's too many bees in the hive, what can happen is that they don't control the heat. It gets too hot and it can kill the brood. So we have to watch for overcrowding and make sure that there's enough space. And one sign of that is the bearding. Certainly they're going to beard to control the temperature. Those are the three things that can really affect your hive in August. Number one, the dearth. Number two, skyrocketing mite levels. And number three, overcrowding. What are the three tips for August? Let's start with number one. Start feeding. As soon as you pull those supers off, we need to be feeding so that the brood production can continue, so that they have their winter stores. That's not always easy to do, so the sooner you can pull the supers, the better, so that you can start feeding. The reason why you wouldn't start feeding while the supers are on is you don't want your honey supers to be full of sugar. You want it to be from the local flowers and other things. I love how this frame looks. It's just fresh comb on there this late in the season, fresh comb. I don't see that the queen is laid in there, but the frame looks really cool. You can see on my box right here that I've got these oxalic acid sponges. This is what I like to use to keep the bees treated for mites during the hot summer months, because it is a treatment method that can be used in hot temperatures. So we have to stay ahead of the mites. Don't wait, otherwise you'll get caught and regret it. I talked about the irritability of the bees. I haven't had this hive open for very long and they're already starting to bump me a little bit. Number one was start feeding as soon as you can. Number two is to treat now. If you haven't started already, you better begin treating for mites. And then number three is to protect from robbing. Now here's how I protect from robbing in August. I try to have really short hive inspections. You can't always do that, but to the extent that you can, you should. Woo! Lots of, I don't know if you can see this. Try to get these cells right here with the sun. There's some nice eggs in there. Good pattern eggs by that queen. Nice job, Queenie. So there you go. I'm talking about short hive inspections. I know the queen's in there. It looks like
they're not happy right now.
Yeah, you should probably move. You protect from robbing by having short hive inspections. You can do an entrance reducer. That'll mess with the temperature a little bit, but the bees can handle it if you need to. If it's a weak hive, if it's a strong hive, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then another thing that you can do to protect from robbing is get a robbing screen and keep those robbers guessing. Those are my tips for August. Number one, start feeding. As soon as you can, get those supers off, as soon as it makes sense. Number two, treat now. I use oxalic acid sponges throughout those hot months of summer. And number three, protect from robbing. Have short hive inspections and reduce the entrance if you see it happening a lot. Okay, and then my final tip is just be patient with yourself. You're going to have robbing sometimes. You might lose a hive because of it. You might lose a hive because of mites. You might see those zombie bees walking around with deformed wings because of mites, and your bees can get sick sometimes. You can't protect them from everything all the time, nor should you. So just the final tip is just be patient with yourself. Let's close this up.